Good evening. Today we will study about a phrase of a transitive verb and a preposition. A phrase of the transitive verb and the preposition is applied to convey the derived definition. When we think of the phrase of the transitive verb and the preposition, we will think of the transitivities of the transitive verb and the preposition. The transitive verb mediates the subject of the transitive verb and the object of the transitive verb. The preposition mediates the subject of the preposition and the object of the preposition. Each word is applied to mediate the subject and the object. The specific condition that the transitive verb and the preposition are applied is described by the derived definition of the transitive verb and the preposition. The listeners understand the phrase of the transitive verb and the preposition interpreted into the derived definition with the object of the preposition. Let's study about this phenomenon. A phrase of a transitive verb and a preposition is able to convey a derived definition depending on the specific condition as the premise that the phrase is applied in. The derived definition conveyed from the phrase of the transitive verb and the preposition the definition is there is a clause. A boy counts the number of the lamp on a field. The subject, a boy, conveys the action indicated by the transitive verb count to the object, the number of the lamp, of the transitive verb. The reason why the action indicated by the transitive verb count is actualized is that the subject considers the assessed value of the object as important. We will focus on the transitive verb count and the preposition on. The original definition conveyed from the transitive verb count is that the subject figures out the number of. Let's think of the object of the transitive verb in this clause. The object of the transitive verb is the number of the lamp. So the original definition of the transitive verb is conveyed to the object to get the action indicated by the transitive verb. Let's think of the object of the preposition on. The object of the preposition on is a phrase of a noun, a field. The preposition on mediates the subject, a boy, and the object, a field. Then we can consider that the subject is in a position that is relatively higher than the position. The transitive verb count and the preposition on are applied to convey the original definition of each word. the subject or boy of the preposition on exists higher than the position indicated by the object or field of the preposition on as a supportive background. We will consider the condition that the subject or boy actualizes the action indicated by the transitive verb count. Why does the subject count the number of the lamp? The condition that the subject actualizes the action comes from the reason that the object of the transitive verb count, the number of the lamp, is important to the subject. The subject wants to the value. We can think of the object of the preposition or field is the place where the subject or boy actualizes the action indicated by the transitive verb count. We focused on the intention of the speaker to convey from this clause. In this point of view, let's think of the object of the preposition on or field. The subject or boy exists on the object or field. The object of the preposition or field is the place where the subject or boy stands on. The action to stand on is on the premise that the field is a place that the subject feels relieved to stand on. In this point of view, the object of the preposition or field is the supportive background that the subject or boy actualizes the action indicated by the transitive verb count. With the fact that the object or field of the preposition on that the subject or boy conveys the action indicated by the transitive verb count to the important object, the number of the lamp, the speaker connotes or premise the connoted intention of the speaker who applies the object or field in this clause is that the object of the preposition or field is a place that the subject relies on. The subject believes the object or field as a safe place to actualize the action indicated by the transitive verb count. The premise is that the object or field of the preposition as the supportive background is the place that the subject or boy feels the relief on and relies on. The speaker sets the various subject as the object of the transitive verb count. The speaker has the perspective that the object of the preposition on is the constant base independent of the various objects of the transitive verb. After the speaker states this clause, we understand the object or field is the place where the subject or boy relies on. Then the speaker states the other clause that the subject conveys the action indicated by the transitive verb count to the other object. we can understand that the intention of the speaker, that the object of the preposition or field is a place where the subject or boy relies on is constant. Then we can understand the sort of the object of the transitive verb count does not influence to the intention of the speaker. Whatever the object of the transitive verb count, the object of the preposition of field is the place that the subject relies on. In this clause, the speaker abbreviates the object of the transitive verb count. The phrase of the verb count on applied in this clause conveys the fused definition that the subject, a boy, of the transitive verb count relies on the object or field of the preposition. The speaker abbreviates the object of the transitive verb count, but the intention of the speaker that the object or field of the preposition on is important is constant. So this clause conveys the derived definition of the transitive verb count and the preposition on. This phenomenon is apprehensible as a fusion of descriptions as the same principle that the phrase of the prepositions. For example, the preposition across and the preposition from mediate the subject and the object with each transitivity, but the combination of each preposition mediates only one subject-object relationship. Mediates a subject-object relationship is applied. The transitive verb and the preposition mediate the subject and the object with each transitivity, with the perspective that a verb and an adverb are classified into a descriptive word. The transitive verb count and the preposition on are fused into a unit to mediate only one subject-object relationship, just like the phrase of the prepositions across from. We understand that the speaker applies the phrase of the transitive verb count on to convey the intention that the object of the preposition on or field is a place where the subject relies. Then the speaker arranges the object of the preposition on as the object of the transitive verb count. The listeners consider the possibility that the definition of the transitive verb count in the phrase of the transitive verb count on is able to be interpreted into the applied definition from the original definition, with the fact that the listeners understand the object of the preposition determines the definition of the phrase count on. The speaker arranges the object of the preposition or field as the object of the transitive verb count, so that the listeners who hear this clause until the transitive verb count consider the two ways to understand the intention of the speaker who states this clause. We accept the transitive verb count is able to be applied in the phrase of the transitive verb count on into the applied definition. The speaker who intends to convey the intention that the subject figures out the number of the object, then the object of the transitive verb count is an object that is able to get the action indicated by the transitive verb count. But the listeners who hear this clause understand the intention of the speaker after this clause is fully stated. With this arrangement, the listeners can understand the object of the transitive verb count is not an object that is able to get the original definition of the transitive verb count. The listeners hear this clause from the subject, transitive verb, and the object of the transitive verb of field. The listeners understand that already because of the indefinite article then the listeners, the intention of the speaker who states this clause to convey the applied definition of the transitive verb count in the phrase of the transitive verb with the preposition on. The effect of this arrangement is that the listeners can understand the intention of the speaker right after the listeners hear the object of the transitive verb count. The speaker and the listeners who participate in the conversation recognize that the transitive verb count is able to be interpreted into the original definition or the applied definition. The definition of the transitive verb count is determined according to the object of the preposition on. This is the reason why the speaker rearranges the object of field from the object of the preposition to the object of the transitive verb. The speaker converts the object of the preposition on into the object of the transitive verb count. The listeners understand the intention of the speaker earlier, who intends the transitive verb count to be interpreted into the applied definition with the preceded object of the transitive verb. So the speaker prevents the possibility that the definition of the transitive verb count is interpreted into the original definition. The speaker replaces the object of the transitive verb and the object of the preposition into a pronoun, it. The speaker replaces the object of the transitive verb count with the pronoun it on the premise that the speaker and the listeners participating in the conversation identify the object indicated by the pronoun. The premise to apply the pronoun in a clause is that the speaker expects the listeners to identify the object indicated by the pronoun. But when the speaker states the clause to the listeners, the speaker does not know the range of the propagation. The listeners who hear the clause from the other listeners are not able to identify the object indicated by the pronoun it. The definition of the transitive verb count in the phrase of the transitive verb count on is determined to be interpreted according to the object of the transitive verb. So, the pronoun to replace the object of the transitive verb or the object of the preposition under the condition that the listeners identify the object indicated by the pronoun. The speaker who applies the phrase of the transitive verb indicates the object of the transitive verb by the pronoun based on the obvious agreement about the object of the transitive verb. Thank you for watching.